Alright, so this should be another shorter stream since I'm basically just showing builds that are already done and the history behind them should be fairly limited. But I will also mention, since it was also kind of part of the update where this dropped, that I did end up completing the spreadsheeting for Ravager's Ascension because I didn't have the Ravager parts before. At least spreadsheet. I said I was going to do them and then I totally forgot about them before the end of the stream. So that's them there with the approximate sizes. I'll make an interesting note that Taruges is already pluralized. So the fact that each individual part is called a Taruges, or however you pronounce it, it kind of sucks. Meanwhile, the tendinous becomes tendinum pluralized. So that kind of breaks from the prior ones where they just had left and right and then words ending in S. So I could just say elbows rather than left and right elbow. So I'm kind of doing the same thing here, except again with this is a different pluralization and that one's already pluralized, which I think is just a translation error. Also have the facade, which interestingly is automatically corrected to include the tail accent in here. And then I added the volume for all of the parts other than the Mars parts because I didn't go back and check their dimensions, and included some where they disagreed with me about the size of things, which I think is because they were just like eyeballing or using something other than literally testing it in the editor. Additionally, I finished up the speed charts as per the post in the meme submission for, well, the meme contest for the summer marathon going on, but didn't get selected for that, which is a shame because it was a fuck ton of time that I spent on doing this, but it's fine because I was just doing it in general for the info of it, not necessarily for the competition. So the speed chart gets way more cluttered and useless, so not like it was even something I was doing before or, you know, could exactly figure it out perfectly, but it looked at least a little bit better, and it was already not very usable. Now it's worse. In any case, new speed chart, they added a shit ton of variety to it. Now that Phobos is a % rather than a flat buff, rather than kicking you up into the next category. Changes on a per cabin category basis. They also added new ones with weird numbers. So, for instance, that has them at 83 kph to begin with, rather than sitting cleanly in a divisor of 5. And then you can have your, you know, upgrades as per usual. So, for instance, this would be 86 in their case, but like all these values are rounded to the nearest 5 for the categorization. And then the math in the second chart is rounded to the nearest 5 anyway. So, like, whatever. But still looks very pretty, and I did end up adding the color scale at the very bottom for the parts themselves with limited speed, since it ended up lining up pretty much perfectly with the base classifications of, you know, cabin with no engine. So that's good, other than, you know, if you're big RAM with leg or ML200, in which case you just cry. So that's all the prior stuff that hasn't really been covered in a stream since. Should have been covered in Ravager's Ascension, but I totally forgot about it. It was like 3 a.m. And then what I'm discussing today is just basically the builds I used during Uranium Wars. So for one, I ended up moving some on exhibition and took others down just so I could play around with them. So for instance, some of these are literally still not usable because not only were there the energy changes, but I just fucking was, wow, okay, Xbox app. Well, there was an update for it today. Obviously, they didn't make it much better. But I just threw the builds up, moved them around for whatever, because I needed to not only make 9K builds for Clan Confrontation 2 weeks ago, since I was finally in a clan that was doing them, but I needed to tool them down to 8K for Uranium Wars, and now I got to tool them back up to 9K. So everything has kind of been shuffled around and not really in its final state. So there's going to be a bunch that I still need to go over and update specifically with the energy changes, which is why there's very few like full green here for being done. So yeah, pretty much anything that I'm not talking about for being downloaded is because it got shoved up here. Like for instance, the Gremlin Saver, which I was debating using in the Uranium, but I didn't end up doing so anyway. And then most of the ones that were here ended up being downloaded and used anyway. So to start from the top of the list, I did re-armor this, and I changed its name back to Siegebreaker with the energy changes. It ended up working better with the Elephant than with Tacklers anyway. So currently it has a higher 2 generator than it had, though it still maintains the averter. And it also has a discharger due to the 1 point of energy gain. I love how it's like striping out some of them, but it consistently tracks them when I scroll the list. Anyway, and then just a bunch more armor, since this is now a mass cabin, although the Goliaths don't actually have enough innate tonnage to max it out, and even if I fuse them for tonnage, I'd only get another 1200. So I wouldn't even, 1300. So it wouldn't even go to the end of the bar anyway. So we'll have to do some more updating for that eventually. TM. Found out the snow cutters actually fit around the bottom of it really nice, so I replaced the APC bumpers plus flails with that. And then of course, if I were still running the tackler, I would remove this panel and put the tacklers and flails back on. And then I also touched up the top of it a bit. I want to do some more with it, but I haven't found a satisfactory shape that that lines up with this edge of the bastion and lines up with this. So like the closest one is the crutch parts, which are super frail. So damn, what are you having issues with? This isn't even like streaming a monotone colored game by any means. Whatever, just Xbox app issues, I guess, because I killed the console companion despite it working perfectly, arguably even better than what they have right now. So that's that. That was minor. These ones haven't been touched, haven't even done the energy rework. I tried around with double cyclones on this, but the thing is it has way too much power score just in its legs to be viable at even the 12-13K. Even though I chopped off the third cyclone, replaced it with an aura, and downgraded the generator significantly, as well as taking off one of the iron seals. It was just 2 cyclones and an aurora at 13K, which didn't do any good. This still needs to be updated because of the energy changes, but on the plus side, I can just chop off a RN seal, and in theory, I'll just eventually use an Aquilo on it once I have it, so that's kind of a non-issue. This one was one of the ones that got downloaded to play around with the concept of using mines there, but it didn't really work out super well, and everybody was overpaying for mines, and still are, because I guess nobody has clued in that not only is the event over, but so is Uranium Wars. In any case, they were money, so I got rid of them. This is the shotgun brick I ended up using in 13,000. To my credit, I tried literally every other build I had that was 12 or 13,000 power score, and I just straight up could not get a kill in any of the matches to save my life. So I swapped to this to try and get out of bronze, and it didn't even matter because I only had like 3 sessions of time in the 12K bracket, so we didn't end up getting out of bronze anyway. But filthily disgusting, and I am definitely awaiting a nerf to these motherfuckers. There's, yeah, I mean, I could go into all the like the build details on it since it's a new one I haven't shown before, but honestly, it's just like, it's a brick. It has a shit ton of armor. It's pretty fucking straightforward. So this is what I was originally trying to use in the 12K bracket, since I still need the cryogenic weapon trial completed. But whether or not you think it's solely a skill issue or a energy economy issue, since I'm also running a Doppler, since nobody else on my fucking team will, I didn't really have much luck with this either, because I was losing to both MG hovers and to shotgun bricks, even though theoretically I should be able to strip the resistances unless they're parts. I wasn't having enough luck with doing that anyway, so could have also changed the power score on this a bit more, but again, this was for a different build prior to the update, so I wasn't too intent on messing around with it, and then I didn't end up doing much 12K anyway. These 2 builds didn't change, they still need updates. These 4 builds didn't change, they still need updates. I will note that I do have a alternate version of this, since I've covered this in a couple of streams, but I haven't mentioned. There's the energy change, and I haven't touched on what I'm going to do the extra point with, but this is an alternate build that is facing the other direction and uses ML200s instead of the big rams. I do actually have 2 more legs now for Big Ram, so I can finish this on a tonnage scale, although I'm going to have to re-jostle parts some more. And unlike the 8K, I haven't felt like I need to remove all the core parts. So, shrug, we'll see. In any case, the 1 energy is probably just going to go to the Cyclops, just like how eventually TM will replace the Waltz with the Helicon, but not immediate things that I have access to in either case, so they're staying as they are. This is a pull down of the Whirlpool, which originally went from Big Rams to Atoms, and then for the purpose of this event went from Atoms to Scotty, and then went from 9K to 8K. So this is currently the 8K variant. Doesn't perform too terribly well, mostly because the angles are kind of jank for actually aiming the Scotties at the front. I could put a 2x4 armor piece in front of them to cause them to be sort of locked, but then they can't really aim directly forward at all. Like that's as far as it'll be able to aim down, which means I can't hit things directly in front of me or specifically cool the same part together. So I don't know the solution to that is. In any case, I'm going to retool it for 9K now that it's back, up and not uranium ores. See how that goes. This hasn't changed. I still don't have Helios. This hasn't changed. I played around with the idea, using it in 12K as well. Like I said, I touched literally every 12K build I have to see if I could use it in uranium, but no dice. This one specifically was a bit too fragile despite the fairly high power score, because I didn't really have the mass to use heavy armor pieces, so using lighter armor pieces tends to be more expensive power score wise, and then again the necessity of running the Doppler because nobody else on the team would. But it still did pretty decent for autocannons. I mean, I could strip Cyclones with it in theory, especially because I can hit them when they're behind cover and still splash them with it. But anytime I was running this, I was still fighting 3 or 4 enemy Cyclone builds, and of course I'm going to lose in that situation. This hasn't changed because I still don't have Firebugs again. It was way too high power score anyway. This hasn't changed. This got tooled down from its 9K version to the 8K version, and because I have so many of these blueprints, which are going to be deleted immediately after the stream since I don't have a use for them anymore, I also deleted the one on the exhibition. So this is currently the only version of it that I have saved, but I will change that back to 9K. So that's what the one in the garage currently is. So I was only able to, for the power score increase, go up 1 tier on the generator. So I went from the PU charge to gas gen, or rather because this started as a 9 version, I went from this to that, and then I took out the averter, and then I was getting stripped too much, so I put the averter back on and took out the chameleon since I didn't have the cheetah engine, so I couldn't refresh it faster anyway, and trying to fit a Yeti on this is an entirely different problem. Then I downgraded the reload booster and the Maxwell in order to get to fit power score. I played around with the armor quite a bit. Also let the vehicle or the gun have a little bit more horizontal aim by removing some armor, so even though it makes it more fragile, the averter kind of makes up for it, and it also means that I don't have to perfectly line up shots like I did before, which was annoying and very hard to do. So I have the one in here now from the event, the Crossout Day event. They gave us a new upgrade, guaranteed upgrade for Youngling, so I've been trying that out. Still not sure if I'm going to keep it over the projectile speed one, but in any case that was the one I was running at the time, because if I could get up behind somebody, then I could generally fire 2 or 3 bursts before they'd notice me or turn around. Also have the Ruin because it affects boosters and, cockpit boosters. And, I mean, the Youngling has 40 volleys by default, 46 with added land, so it doesn't need more ammo. I've literally never run out. The Shark Tooth, as the stream fucks up again. Thank you, Xbox app, very cool. Well, I'd love to not quit it if you'd actually work, bro, but it's funny too because it immediately loads this now when you click on it. Beforehand it was a hot second, so they made it open faster but didn't actually seem to make anything more stable. I literally don't have anyone or anything else on the network right now, and yet we're having issues streaming over Wi-Fi on a 5 gigahertz band from 2 items which are 10 feet from each other. So that's fun. Shark Tooth, very much the same thing. It's literally just a 12k version of what the Shark Tooth was before. I literally just changed armoring on this. I didn't change anything else. Had limited success with it in 12k as well, but it was a more CQC build. So especially if I got like a hammerfall brick on the side before its 3 other friends decided to kill me at the same time, I could generally at least degun it. And then so long as I, of course, can keep feeding the perk, and that's good. Did find out, though, because apparently this never crossed my head before, as Prodigy mentioned earlier today, Chrono specifically works when you have Rex in front of you. So that's a good footnote in case you were like me and read it once. I feel like before they changed the perk description, because they've done like 15 some overhauls in the last year and a half. But in any case, makes a big difference on how you play it. Then we have this, which I already mentioned. And then we have the Wraith, which is a downloaded version of the Thyrsus Wraith for PvP, but Thyrsus did not work at all in the 4v4 because pretty much by the time one person dies, you already would have wanted to shoot like 30, 40 some Thyrsus bursts anyway, and once one person dies, the rest of the team tend to follow pretty quickly. So swapped it to the Kaiju, and then just as I expected, it immediately had issues with repositioning because while under normal circumstances being able to move 120 kph, especially with the stealth, especially team-wide stealth of the Griffin cabin, would theoretically let you reposition and then charge and fire off 2 or 3 bursts before they catch up to you. Now that everybody and their mom is going 100 kph under all circumstances, kind of hard to do that, so it also sucked. So it's also getting deleted, but I guess I can show the modules for it first. So it was actually a pretty significant overhaul of the armoring for it. Like we can even just look compared to the one that was on exhibition. But in the end, like I said, just performance issues. So that covers all of those. So a rather shorter stream today, but that's just it. Like I'm literally just showing all of these so I can delete half of them, since I don't have any intention or interest in using them again, and the other half are just being retooled back to the regular power scores they're at. So GG easy, baby. And I probably will do more streams for builds, considering I have all these energy reworks to do, but that's obviously not the purpose of this build. I'll get caught up on that later.